Don't be fooled by all these big ticket diversity initiatives. Don't be taken in by the huge investment programs. It's smarter to start with something small. It's smarter to use a pilot project. I'm Dr. Jonathan. I work with organizations to make them inclusive, and I'm on a mission to help 1 million people like you to make your workplace inclusive. Get your pen and paper ready, because we're talking about the predictable power of pilot projects for building inclusion. This is something I've been doing for years, and it's something I want to help you with. You must have noticed how organizations keep saying the same thing. We're going to dedicate millions to eradicate racism. We're going to dedicate all our time to gender equality. We're going to dedicate unprecedented resources to be more accessible. This sounds great, but it doesn't always play out great. What I always do with my clients is start with something small. I start with a pilot. Here, I'm going to explain why it's so powerful. Here, I'm going to explain why it's so practical. Here, I'm going to explain why it's such a useful principle for you to use. Think of a pilot project as a small-scale trial that allows us to gain valuable insights and make better informed decisions before we get into a full-scale implementation. Why does this matter? 1. Insights. I'm always talking to you about insights. Think of that as something that helps us to reveal a hidden truth about a problem that we're concerned with. And 2, informed decision making. Evidence-based inclusion is all about helping you to make better informed decisions using the best evidence that's available to you. Now, we draw typically from 4 sources. The research, which is the scientific literature. The organization, which is the place where you work. The stakeholders, these are the people affected by the thing you want to influence. And professional expertise, yours and others. This is why I read so many books. Everything I do is about helping you to make better informed decisions in order to get the outcomes that you want. If you're here, you care about inclusion. And when I say inclusion, we think of that as a systematic business strategy to ensure that everyone shares the same advantages and benefits. Everyone can perform, everyone can belong, everyone can reach their potential. So when I say I'm on a mission to help 1 million people like you to make your workplace inclusive, really? I'm trying to help 1 million people like you to make better informed decisions in order to influence your workplace to be inclusive. Sounds daunting. That's why I want you to start small. That's why we start with a pilot. Here's 3 reasons why I like them. 1, pilot projects reduce risk. Large-scale projects cost a lot of money, and they often have unintended consequences. In fact, I find they always have unintended consequences. My go-to example is getting everyone in your organization to do unconscious bias training. It costs a lot of money, and the real winners are the people who sold you the course. Research and reality says that it doesn't work. The unintended consequence? It didn't do what it was supposed to. People are starting to figure this out. And now that's a risk. Whoever did that, that's a risk for the organization. Whoever thought it was a good idea in your organization at some point will have to explain why it was a good idea. If no one asks them, maybe you should reconsider your career there. Because to me, that indicates a different type of risk. This is a huge accountability problem, which is likely to show up elsewhere. The second thing is pilot projects help you to learn. No one wants to admit this, but the leaders in your organization don't know enough about your organization to make it inclusive. That's why so many turn to grifters and chancers for help. This is why Flags Food and Fun is such a popular strategy, because people don't know what to do. Doing a pilot project helps you to solve that problem. One of the 3 biggest problems that organizations experience on their inclusion journey is performance. Organizations struggle to explain how diversity, inclusion, equity, how all of these things matter in their specific organization. That's why they talk about the research that supports the business case for diversity, because they don't know how the business case for diversity works in their specific organization. Why not do a pilot project and get the real answer for yourself? I always find out the answer to this question when I work with organizations. And the third thing is that pilot projects help you to make better decisions. Did I mention this already? Did I mention how important it is for you to make better decisions for yourself? Pilot projects are powerful, they're practical, and they're predictable. You get feedback. you get results, you get insights. And the cool thing is there's no such thing as a pilot project that did not work. Of course, you need to know how to run it properly, but if you run it properly, there is no such thing as a pilot project that doesn't work. When you get the result you want, it's evidence to support the thing that you were planning anyway. When you don't get the result that you want, you save time, you save money, you saved resources, and anything else that you want to add to that list. You've saved yourself. You also get to make a better decision next time. Even better, you get buy-in for the big project that you actually want to do later. You build confidence, you build credibility, and when you make some mistakes, and you will make some mistakes, you're going to build character too. All of this is important. This is part of our evidence-based inclusion strategy because it gets you to get evidence to show that the thing that you're doing is working, or it helps you to make a better decision to make sure that you do it properly next time. And I want to be really clear about this. This is something that I do myself. The first episode of our podcast was a pilot. I recorded it on an iPhone with no editing software. It had a completely different format. It had a completely different name. It was a trial for me to learn, reduce my risk, test the waters. It was a pilot. I used it in my PhD. I developed a valid and reliable instrument for measuring bicultural identity integration. Really difficult, really elaborate. This is world-class stuff. I used people all over the world in doing these tests. I won't bore you with all the details. You can check them out in my PhD thesis. I'll put a link in the show notes. Check out chapter 3. But to be honest, they could have given me a PhD for that bit on its own. Now, my first attempt at doing all of this, it was what researchers call a quick and dirty survey. It was crude, but it was effective. It was a pilot. I'm also using this process for our YouTube channel. Now, we're not ready to launch, so we're conducting a pilot. It's our first attempt. We're going to iterate. It is absolutely not ready. But I'm looking for feedback. I'm trying to understand what's going to work. I've had feedback that was misleading, so we launched it anyway. And one of the things we need to change, for example, are the thumbnails. We prepared thumbnails in line with what some members of our audience said. Someone who isn't part of our audience, who doesn't even like this stuff, they straight up said they don't care about this. They completely disagree with what I'm doing, but they gave us useful feedback on how to improve the thumbnails. That was useful. I'm going to iterate. It's in beta. It's a pilot. Now let's take all of this to a whole new level. If you want to get really meta about this, everything I do here is a pilot for our relationship. I'm hoping that you're using this stuff. Every week you get something that can help you. If you use it, it's a pilot for doing more with us. It's a pilot for working with us. Some of you are destined to become paying clients. It's not risky because you already understand our values, our interests, and our standards. You've already learned something about yourself because of all the content that we provide. So you know that you're going to learn more. And you're already making better decisions and collaborating with us even without having met us. So working with us brings you more benefit. I use this with clients. Everything we do is a pilot. Every product, every service. In fact, I'm working on a solution to help leaders make better decisions through evidence-based inclusion. It involves helping you to deliver your own pilots. Now, it's not ready yet because I want to run a pilot with a limited number of organizations. And like every pilot that I do, this will be one time only. If you want to work with me to build credibility and confidence with an inclusion-focused pilot project where you work, send me a direct message and I'll add you to our priority list. Like I said, we're not ready yet, but if you're keen, I want to put you at the front of the queue. So send me a message, subject, call it pilot project, Dr. Jonathan at elementofinclusion.com. That's Dr. Jonathan at elementofinclusion.com. We're working on something that will help 1 million people. That sounds huge. That's why I'm doing a pilot. And I'd love to get you involved if you're serious about inclusion. So let's wrap this up. What are the key messages here? 1. Pilot projects are a low risk and high return use of your time. 2. There's no such thing as a pilot project that doesn't work. And 3. Contact me if you want help with a pilot project for building inclusion. So what do you think? Are you going to contact me so we can partner on a pilot project for you? Get in touch or leave a message. I would love to hear from you. If you've learned something from today's show, then give us a 5-star review and a comment wherever you're listening to the podcast. It helps other people like you to find the show. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you in the next episode.